Hi, I'm Lori Wolf, and I'm with the NSRWA, and I run the Water Smart program. This expo is sponsored by the NSRWA and the Water Smart program and Kennedy's Country Gardens. Before we get started, I just want to tell you a few things. We're going to have a question and answer period at the end. So if you have any questions, just write them in the chat or the Q&A, and I will read them. And I will also paste some links into the chat. Now I would like to introduce Todd Breitenstein of South Shore Permaculture and Our Grateful Garden with Restoring Personal Ecology, How Principles of Nature Heal Our Overwhelm. Our speaker tonight is Todd Breitenstein, known to many as the Grateful Gardener. Todd has been gardening and working with the land since childhood and brings decades of hands-on experience in landscaping, permaculture, and organic land care. With formal training in ecology and environmental policy, he has a deep passion for living soils, land stewardship, and growing edibles. Todd's work explores how healthy soils and landscapes support resilient ecosystems and protect our planet, including our local waterways. But more importantly, how these same principles can restore and sustain us as people. Please join me in welcoming Todd.
Thanks, Lori. Welcome, 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 everybody. I am so grateful to be here with you all and so grateful to get to have this time with you. What a gift it is that I get to teach so that I might learn. I am going to say a lot of words tonight. Most of you have heard them. Most of the ideas you've probably heard as well. Perhaps the framing might be different for some of you. But as we get started, I want you to know that other than the first few photos and some infographics, all the photos in the slides tonight are from my journey here on planet Earth. So let's just take a minute and begin by arriving. Just be here in this space, sit back, relax, and be here now. No, there's no place I would rather be. And I want to thank you all for coming. So let's just take a great big deep breath. Well, let's begin. No matter what our species does, the Earth is and will be just fine. There is no Earth crisis. What's in crisis is our relationship with it, which means it's a human species crisis. We talk about climate change like it's a weather problem. But let me ask you this. How is the climate inside of you? Inside your body, inside your mind, inside your home, inside your workplace? How's your tummy feeling? We are overwhelmed by headlines, eco-anxiety, and guilt, believing the planet is sick, but many of us haven't yet looked at our own ecology. We're repeating the same thoughts, fear, and fragmentation that created our mess in the first place. Maybe you can identify with this. I know I sure can. Eco-anxiety paralysis, the sustainability guilt trap, shooting all over yourself. I may have lost my mind at least a couple of times trying to recycle everything. I definitely pulled out all my hair. I'm going to do that one again. This time I'm actually going to laugh because it's funny. Funnier to bald guys. But the truth is your inner world and the outer world are the same system. When one is sick, the other suffers, and when one heals, the other follows. The earth doesn't need saving, she needs restoring, and that restoration begins with us, not through more panic, not through shame and guilt-laden knee-jerk responses, but through reconnection, through reverence, through the radical act of living in alignment with our homes, our land, and our own nervous and biological systems. This is not a talk about sustainability, it's about ecological restoration, and the only restoration needed is the self. I want to share some context to help you understand how I found myself here and why it has become so important to me. I've been connected to nature for as long as I can remember. When the world around me felt unstable, and trust me, it has often, especially as a kid, nature was the one place that felt safe. Trees didn't lie, rivers didn't explode. I could count on the seasons, the soil, the silence. But over time, that connection turned into grief. So it makes sense that I became an environmentalist. I studied biology, environmental policy, ecological restoration. I even studied sculpture. And I guess you would say I was ahead of the curve in a lot of my life, reading scholarly articles on climate change before it was even in the headlines. But underneath that intellectual drive was a deeper grief, a gnawing despair. The world's destruction didn't feel abstract to me, it felt personal. When I looked around and I saw how oblivious most people were, driving, consuming, spraying, and showing wanton disregard for what sustains us, it made me crazy. It made me angry. And somewhere along the way, that grief and anger turned inward. I didn't just resent others, I began to resent myself, trying to play my part, to fit in, to forget, to carry on like everyone else, only made it worse. And that's when self-medicating started, feeding multiple appetites of selfishness and self-centered substance abuse. I was trying to numb what felt like a tidal wave of helplessness. But here's the turning point. What saved me truly was the same thing that grounded me in the first place: nature. And not the idea of it, the experience of it, touching the soil, listening to birdsong, walking barefoot, watching native plants grow in places they had once been wiped out. That's what helped me recover, not just from substances, but from the disconnection, from the illusion that we are separate from this planet. Today, I don't carry that same resentment. I don't judge people for their actions or inaction. I've come to believe something much softer and much more powerful. We need everyone doing their little part, whether it's planting a garden or just trying to breathe a little easier in a cleaner home. My journey from despair to healing wasn't just personal, it's ecological, it's spiritual, it's communal. It's the foundation of what I now work into everything that I do. Yes, there's hugging trees. Yes, there's turning logs to hold a handful of the earth to breathe. Yes, there's connecting by wiping that earth into my sweating skin. Yes, I can tell you stories of great synchronicity when on the darkest days of my life and moments of complete despair, I just threw my hands up and I said, I'm taking a hike. Only then I was walking into the woods and someone comes walking out, but a dear old friend who knew without asking I needed a hug. Yes, I can tell you when you show up to nature, it shows up to you, but I want to take you deeper. It was springtime, and I was standing next to an eastern red cedar, one of my favorite trees. Strong, grounded, generous. I had always admired this tree, its strength, its sheltering branches, its abundant medicine. But on that day, something clicked. I wasn't just observing the tree. As I stood there in stillness, I realized something I knew on one level, but suddenly felt on every level. Energy is everything. The tree and I weren't just standing there. We weren't exchanging energy. We were exchanging energy. We were exchanging a quiet resonance, a subtle recalibration. And I could feel it. I was in communion with it, and it said to me, just open your heart. You can have all of me. Everything is energy. All of the wisdom of all time and all time that ever will be is already in you. And in that moment, I could feel it. The tree and I were exchanging something subtle but real, a healing, a quiet resonance, without picking its berries or brewing a tea. Just being in the tree's presence was healing. That moment changed everything for me. I remembered you don't need to extract a medicine for it to work. Just being in the presence of nature is the medicine. It was then that I knew that I had always known, presence itself is the prescription. So I thought, maybe I'm making this up. And what does a good gardener do? They go digging. And what I found is that science is starting to catch up to with what nature has always known. And I want to be clear, I'm not a neuroscientist. I'm a gardener who got curious. For some reason it was working for me. So I went looking into the science behind it, and what I found was that the principles of ecological restoration that I had been studying mapped directly onto human physiology. So here's the thing. If you know me, which many of you probably do, some of you maybe you don't. Something you hear me say quite often when we converse is, I'm not making this up. Unless, of course, we've gone walking in the woods and there we are down some far paths that are probably extremely existential to most people. But anyway, the reason I want to bring this up here is because I don't want to, nor do I think you want me to go into deep science with citations and notations and all the things. But please do know that what follows are things that I have experienced and then sought out evidence that my experiences weren't woo-woo, so that way when I share them, I am not making stuff up. All that said, I get it. Depth matters. So please know that there is specific research behind what follows, and I will do my best not to be too abstract. Too abstract, anyway. LOL. So, what we call forest bathing, Shirin-yoku, in Japan, where it has been studied extensively, it has been found that spending time in forest, in fact, lowers cortisol, improves immune function, and reduces mental rumination. So this improved immune function increases NK cell activity. NK cells are natural killer cells that act as a first line of defense against the virus or any infected or stressed out cells. This is what's really cool to me is that trees emit phytoncides, phytoncides, which are antimicrobial compounds that calm human stress chemistry. So just by being out there, I wasn't wrong. I was breathing in the medicine of the cedar tree. Now, for me, it was a lot deeper because I was feeling things on an energetic level, but physically, there is actually evidence that the trees are releasing these compounds that are healing us just by being there, and it doesn't really take that long. Then I found polyvagal theory, which explains that nature fosters a sense of safety within us, shifting our autonomic nervous system from stress, which is the sympathetic system, to calm and connected, which is the ventral vagal. And it's funny, I learned all of these things when I was becoming a health and wellness coach, and then come to find out they align perfectly with everything that I'd already been doing just in nature. So these natural environments with their gentle sounds, organic shapes, and soft light serve as safety cues, and they allow the vagus nerve to decrease defense responses. Safety is biological. When we hear birds, when we walk on soil, our nervous system receives cues of safety. It's so fascinating how our biology is hardwired to look for these safety signals in nature. This concept is often tied to the biophilia hypothesis and the polyvagal theory that I just explained, but here's some specific cues as to how it works. Bird song Evolutionarily, the silence in the forest often signaled a predator was near. Rhythmic, calm birdsong tells our brain that the environment is currently free of immediate threats, allowing the parasympathetic nervous system to take over. So the birds were quiet, some threat was present. Walking on the soil, this provides grounding. Some people call it earthing. I'll never forget the first time I heard that. I was walking in the woods with my bare feet, and a couple of young kids came by, and the girl was like, "Oh, so cool, you're earthing." And I was like, "Mm." Physically, it offers just the varied senses. Yeah, it's painful because you step on rock, but you can also step on squishy spots where the ground is softer or cooler, and that helps with preoccupation, also proprioception, which is knowing where your body is. You're paying more attention to where your feet fall. This anchors a dysregulated nervous system. And then that biological safety. When we receive these cues, the vagus nerve signals the heart rate to slow and cortisol levels to drop. We aren't just relaxing ourselves, we are literally shifting from a state of defense to a state of growth and repair. Now imagine doing that with your friends. They say laughter is the best medicine, and now you're out walking and you're having these calming effects and you're laughing together. These positive social engagements in general, but even amplified more within the forest, are part of really belonging, and that supportive community strengthens the vagus nerve function with or without the woods. So it promotes that sense of safety and connection, which improves our stress resilience. It reduces anxiety, it decreases heart rate, it lowers blood pressure, it aids digestion, and reduces inflammation. That's being in good community. Nature signals safety to the human nervous system through predictable, repetitive patterns, reducing the need for high vigilance and fostering a sense of calm. These somatic cues, such as fractal shapes in leaves, rhythmic sounds, a babbling brook, or gentle, consistent movements, breeze in a tree, they help regulate the autonomic nervous system, promoting relaxation. Overwhelm is not weakness, it's cognitive depletion, and nature restores cognition. Natural environments restore directed attention. Soft fascination reduces cognitive fatigue. So, overwhelm is cognitive depletion. Nature restores that cognition. We know this through the attention restoration theory. Art is life. Just this theory states that exposure to natural environments restores depleted cognitive resources and reduces mental fatigue. By engaging soft fascination, that effortless attention in nature allows our brains directed attention, which is the mechanisms that we need to focus and concentrate. It allows it to rest and recover. It takes just 20 minutes. There are some things that you need to do in order to truly restore that focus and emotional well-being through the this theory. It's four things. One, you need to be away. So you got to get out of the office. You need to escape your daily routine, your work, and habitual stressors. So that's what nature can be. There needs to be elements that capture your attention: clouds, flowing water, rustling leaves. You don't want to have to be intensely focused because that um, defeats the purpose. And then the extent. You need to be fully immersed, and it needs to be immersed enough to provide depth to engage the mind. And there just needs to be a match between the inclination that your individual desires. So you want it to line up with what you find stimulating and rewarding. So if you just think you're a beach person, you're a beach person. Do it at the beach. If you think that you're a sit by a pond person, sit by the pond. If you like to hike, hike. Get further out in the woods. But just know that it takes a good 20 minutes. The longer, the better. It's something that they actually recommend we try to do every day. But even a short walk, looking at something green, just walking out of your building at work and to go get a drink of water, just stepping outside, it helps break the fatigue. They've even found that using natural imagery, watching nature videos or viewing scenes can serve as a substitute. Hence why I put all nature pictures in this presentation tonight. It was intentional. Turning off your device, you've heard it before. It's a big key in this. It's that key component really in our life today that's going to stand between us truly disconnecting and having this work in our advantage is putting the phone down, leaving it in the car. When you're a nature photography nut like me, that means you got to buy a camera, even though your phone has an amazing camera in it. But I digress. So I want to talk about something now that I'm not going to go super deep into this, but this is huge. Like this is like cutting edge of where we're moving within human health, and that is the gut-brain axis and the connection between soil microbes and human health and microbes in general. It turns out that the gut and the brain are in constant communication through the vagus nerve. Nearly 90% of the serotonin is produced in the gut. Serotonin being the feel-good um, chemical that our body produces. It helps us feel happy. The microbiome is also influencing inflammation, mood, and stress resilience. There's emerging research showing that exposure to soil organisms like Mycobacterium vaccae may influence serotonin pathways and immune regulation. So when we get our hands in soil, we are not just gardening, we are microbially communicating. There's a tremendous overlap between the biology that assists the soil in the forest and the biology that assists us within our gut. And the microbiome in nature influences our microbiome. So immune response, reduced anxiety, stress reduction, even reducing intestinal inflammation are all being influenced by this microbiome. Now, this isn't just go outside. I want to share a few specific garden-based practices with you. If you haven't heard of Korean natural farming, this is something you need to explore. If it adds to your overwhelm list, I'm sorry, but you probably should add it, LOL. Korean natural farming is regenerative, low-cost agricultural system. It was developed by Cho Han Kyu, and it maximizes plant growth by nurturing indigenous microorganisms. All you native plant people out there, native plants do better with the indigenous microorganisms instead of using chemical fertilizers. But what you do is ferment local material to create inputs that we call FPJ, fermented plant juice. And there's also other levels. I'm not going to go deep into this, but just know if you're working on this biome, this is a terrific first step. Um, if if you don't go that route, you have a plant in your garden that is taking up space. Perhaps it's a biodynamic accumulator type plant like comfrey or burdock or burridge, borage, sorry, or any of the chamomile, dandelion, the docks, I had said that. Stuff them in a bucket and put a lid on it. This isn't the same as bokashi, but you should also explore bokashi because this is going to expose you to this microbiome. This process here was just me stuffing stuff in a bucket and putting a lid on it. It built up so much pressure that it exploded and gooped all over the floor. It smells nasty, but it takes a plant that you otherwise weren't going to use and turns it back into nutrients for your garden. Also, it's just super fun to do with your friends because you can stink them up real good and make more friends and all the things that we can do with stinky, smelly stuff for our gardens. And enough on that. So, this doesn't mean that the soil is going to cure depression. It does mean our biology evolved in relationship with the ecosystems. I want to say that this overlap between microorganisms that plants use to live and our guts are so similar in cellular makeup. The compositional setup and the metabolic reactions that they're performing are not the same, yet they're just so similar that the way the humans and the plants rely on symbiosis with microbes for nutrition, defense against pathogens, resilience, and just overall health. The same players are often present in both systems. So we may be made of the same stardust after all, but biology is definitely influencing us all. Sorry if that's too woo-woo. I'll reel it in. Now to some of my favorite things. The heart, the gut, the brain, these are not separate systems. They are constantly communicating. So when I discovered research around heart rate variability, I was ecstatic. The heart sends signals to the brain through the vagus nerve, back to that vagus nerve again, communicating with our gut, communicating with our brain, communicating with our heart. And when we're calm and regulated, our heart rhythm becomes more coherent. And that coherence improves decision making and emotional regulation. Nature exposure improves this vagal tone, so slow breathing in a forest improves the heart rate variability. So when we walk a trail, plant a tree, kneel in the soil, we are not just restoring landscapes, we are restoring physiology. Coming into our heart through our brain is solid gold. Combine that with breathing practices, and you're on a next level of relaxation, self regulation, and healing. I know I said I'd reel it in with the woo woo stuff, but I have to share this. The heart magnetic field imagery that's floating around online sometimes perhaps overreaches scientifically. I will admit that. But there is strong research showing that the heart generates an electromagnetic field measurable outside the body. They've also measured these fields similarly within plants. And if even conducted studies to see if our thinking can influence growth rates of plants and what happens when we put our heart on plants. And it's all wonderful, it's all beautiful. But just what's really clear is that emotional regulation does influence the nervous systems of ourselves and those that are around us. And as we get to the end tonight, you'll understand why this is so important to me. But something happened in all of this that I started seeing these biological connections, and I realized something else. Nature just doesn't heal us randomly. Nature heals us through patterns. Just within planting a seed and the cycle of sowing and growing, nature teaches us delayed gratification, seasonality, nonlinearity, patience, and so much more, not least of which is understanding the outcome that our personal intentions as it relates to what we want nature to do is more inclined to be what nature wants us to learn. And the more I've studied ecological restoration, the more I realized these patterns show up everywhere. Every natural system follows a cycle. Seasons, spring, summer, fall, winter. Watersheds, the source, the flow, confluence into the ocean. Ecological succession, disturbance, pioneer species, growth, climax. And human healing follows the same patterns. There's something really important in here. While we've been following the natural order of responding to adversity very much in a successional pattern as a species, we don't have to. Just because nature always has an answer and always has a solution for when things go sideways, we're conscious. We don't have to wait until the proverbial hits the fan. We can make decisions in advance to heal ourselves, and to heal one another. And because this is a watershed sponsor expo, I couldn't resist sharing this parallel. We restore watersheds. It's something that we do. I was involved with the Neponset River watershed for over a decade after college doing water sampling, and it works. And it's amazing. And these educational opportunities that watershed groups offer are huge, and they are helping. But watersheds are managed by nervous systems. That's us. If those nervous systems are chronically overwhelmed, the decisions will reflect that. Everything flows downstream. Personal overwhelm flows into community. Regulation flows into community too. Everything flows downstream. Your stress flows downstream. Your healing flows downstream too. But if they are regulated, coherent, connected, different decisions emerge. Did I forget to mention resilience? I did. This is one of the things that nature always wants to teach us is resilience, overcoming obstacles. Overcoming adversity is a strength. We all possess it. And yes, that tree was alive. This is all so hopeful. All of these studies, all of these simple things we can do are so helpful because it means that we're not powerless. Small ecological acts are biologically meaningful. Planting a tree is nervous system work. Gardening is nervous system work. Community is nervous system work. Nature responds to consciousness. Plants grow differently when loved. Soil holds memory. Our inner world is mirrored by the outer one and vice versa. This is more than biophilia. It's more than mindfulness. It's a call to come back to the energy of Earth, not just as a place we live, but as a living being we're a part of. The more I let go of resentment toward society, toward others, toward myself, the more clearly I could feel that connection. Gardening stopped being a chore or even a hobby. It became a spiritual technology, a form of meditation, a way to clear emotional blockages, to realign life itself. That is when the vision for the ecology of you came into focus. Because here's the truth. We've been sold a lie that solving climate change means voting harder, recycling more, or buying the latest green product. What really regenerates the planet? You, me, us, we. When we shift from being a consumer to a regenerator, when our home is not toxic, our garden is self-sustaining, our nervous system is regulated, our biology nurtured, our relationships rooted, we restore three environments: the home within, the home around us, and the land we live on. So we start inside. with your air, your materials, your environment. When we remember ourselves as ecosystems, we see we are life systems. What we spray, what we put on our skin, wipe our counters with, all play a role inside and out. Your yard can become regenerative. It can give back instead of just taking. When your nervous system is regulated, everything changes. That's what the earth wants, one fully alive human being at a time. It's not about fixing the world, it's about remembering that you are the earth. It's remembering everything you do to yourself, you do to her. When your home becomes a temple, your land becomes a sanctuary, and your thoughts become soil for healing, you regenerate, you restore the ecology of you, and so does the world. This is who I am, and this is what I want my life to be. And this is what it has become through the seasons of my life and learning how to be deeply observant. I sat and set an intention of restoration, and nature taught me how to integrate through self healing, which helped me remember that the highest form of living is in service to others, being in community, which is exactly what nature is: observation, restoration, integration, contribution. And then add one more layer to that, the 5 terrains of our personal ecology: physical, mental and emotional, relational, environmental, purpose, and spiritual. Now we're regenerating from the inside out, reconnecting. We work on nervous system regulation, nutrition, mindfulness, and the emotional detox that naturally comes with living more consciously. We call this ecological restoration of the human condition, because when you start treating your own body with reverence, the world begins to reflect that back. If infographics are your thing, here's one for you. And it shows how each one of these terrains can align through the 4 phases of restoration. It's ecological restoration mapped out through the terrains. It's what we do. It's how we heal. But here's the thing. We're not meant to process ecological grief alone. I want to tell you a story about community as medicine. This is a story about a young man who was at a combined workshop weekend we hosted through South Shore Permaculture. One workshop over the weekend was building a cob oven using natural materials, and then the other was an introduction to permaculture weekend. And we had combined meals. And at one of the meals, someone suggested that we do a gratitude circle. We go around the table and just say something that we were grateful for. And when it came to this young man, he was just overwhelmed by the whole weekend in such a beautiful way. He shared that he had never been somewhere where sharing your vulnerability through environmental grief was the norm, what was expected. And then let alone to just process that together and share in gratitude around a meal, and that he was being heard was really, really beautiful. And he said that. He said, I feel like you guys are listening to me, and it means so much to me. We're not meant to process this ecological grief alone. It's critical. This is hope. It's lived experience together in community. All the statistics are out there about that. Community reduces isolation. Like-minded circles normalize care and healing. They regulate the nervous systems. We co-regulate together. This is what we do with ecology of you, ecological restoration of community, of self, of the planet. Now, I don't know how all of it resolves. I don't, but I do know that regulated humans make better decisions. We restore ourselves so we can restore community, restore watersheds, heck, even planets, galaxies, and universes. Who knows? But I do know at the very least we are better participants. When we go out in the world, we can be kind, and small scale human restoration collectively can lead to much greater outcomes. Now, normally I would open something like this with a deeper, like 1 minute grounding exercise, maybe two, depending on how we're feeling. It's a permy thing, permaculture. As you know, I'm with South Shore Permaculture. Permaculture is something I teach. But tonight, I just wanted to close and end this evening with just something really simple, just a guided experience, just 1 minute of unity, maybe not even a minute. So I'm just going to ask you if it's comfortable for you to close your eyes and maybe imagine your hands in the soil. Perhaps you can recall the smell of the tomato vines. If you're not a gardener yet, imagine standing near a body of water. Now take a slow breath in through your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out through your mouth for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ah, coherence, regulation, micro restoration, amplified by our collective breath and unity. The earth is safe. The earth is safe. What is in crisis is our relationship with it, which is our relationship with ourselves. Nature already knows how to heal. We simply need to follow the pattern. Restoring ecosystems and restoring people follow the same natural patterns. And that restoration begins with you. Now, no matter where you are on your gardening journey, you are welcome to join our community. All previous experiences are but a foundation, so let them not keep you from a deeper understanding or a new perspective. There are no failures in restoration, only what you learn and how you grow. So join us at South Shore Permaculture. We offer an annual permaculture design course. We have Tuesdays with Todd, which are free gardening classes the second Tuesday of every month. This Earth Day, we're having a festival down at Foul Play and Misbehaving Farm in Duxbury. There will be workshops, music, biochar, and more. If giving back is something that you're engaging in, join us at Our Grateful Garden, a 501c3 nonprofit. We're hosting a gardening festival on 4/25, which is a hands-on fun for all ages festival. There's workshops, food, prizes, and more. Then, of course, there is the Ecology of You. We have monthly grounding circles, which are a space where you can come and join us to breathe, reflect, and just be in community. Those are free as well. We also offer group and individual restoration programs. Abundance and gratitude are one and the same. May they be plentiful for you all.
Thank you, Todd. We have some comments and some questions. The first one is forest bathing or Shinrin-yoku is a Japanese practice of therapeutic relaxation involving slow sensory-based immersion in nature to improve health and reduce stress. It lowers blood pressure, cortisol levels, and boosts immune function by inhaling beneficial plant chemicals.
Indeed.
And then you also talked about bokashi, and I just wanted to throw in that we're going to have an exhibitor at the Expo on Saturday about bokashi.
Nice.
So
Is
you
this
can,
Peter Swanson?
yes.
Awesome. He has been
So,
auditing our PDC currently as well.
yeah,
Super
so people
cool.
can come talk to him.
Yeah, excellent.
The next question is, does restoration theory, nature, and art also help brain hemisphere balance? Do you feel that near brain health greatly benefits from spending more time in the forest or preferred natural spaces?
Well, like I said, I'm not a neuroscientist, but I would suggest that as far as I've come to understand, any time in physical nature is improving brain health. And in terms of looking at green space, there are studies that show just even looking at a green painted wall helps the brain, or photography of nature and sound. So seems logical to me.
Okay. This next one says, this is very much like grounding for Native Americans. It is always so refreshing when many things through different sources are similar in healing the body. Reiki, a Japanese healing methodology, also uses the earth's energies and magnetic fields that travel through our body's meridians. This is also refreshing to be in nature as you do all of these methodologies. Then someone said, will this whole presentation be recorded so that we can listen to it again at a later time? Yes, it will. I will get it up on the website tomorrow. And then I put in a couple links to, um, let's see here.
I would like to say to Susan, don't do me, Alan, her comments. I at the nonprofit at the Spring Gardening Festival, I am going to present what I call energy gardening, which is my personal favorite gardening talk that I do, which is it's a confluence of permaculture and as far woo-woo stuff as I could get. So Reiki and Feng Shui and Qigong and aligning all energy from our physical energy use to our design and how it conserves energy and capturing and store energy to actually physically aligning to the earth's energy fields and aligning that with plants energies and aligning that with the cardinal directions and as well the sacred elements wood fire water and air. uh, it's super cool. I gotta tell you, I will pat myself on the back on that one. I hope you will join us at the festival to see that because it's sounds like it's right up your alley.
Okay, I put in the link for South Shore Permaculture and Our Grateful Garden in the chat. The next person said, thank you very much, Todd. Are there one or two must reads that you might recommend?
Wow. Well, from gardening perspective, I consider the Crockett's Guide to the Victory Garden to be essential for gardeners in Massachusetts if you want to grow anything. It's just dynamite. Um, hmm. And then just in terms of a book, I don't know if there's anything. It's so the thing about books is that I could tell you to read something 100 times, and if the time isn't right for you to read it, it won't be. And when it comes to these things of matters like this, I don't know what's right for you. I know what's been right for me in my journey. Um, I've, gosh, I don't know, so many. I'll recommend Gaia's Garden for permaculture. That book is super awesome, very easy to understand with complex interactions explained really, really well. That's by Toby Hemingway. There's lots of really cool books out there right now about plant consciousness that have hit the market, like The Light Eaters is really interesting, and other things like that you'll find that are really cool. I did just get introduced to like basically like the godfather of plant hybridization, Burbank. I'm reading The Diary of a Yogi by Yogananda Paramahansu, and he introduces this guy Burbank who basically like back in the early 1900s like made so many of our plants like that we eat today, like our like the potatoes, but he really was the person who mastered like hybridization. I don't know how we feel about that in a lot of the circles, but just he claimed to Paramahansa Yogananda that he got a cactus to give up its spines by loving it. Now, this isn't what he told other people, but this is what he told the yogi, is that he convinced the plant. And this made me think about Doug's talk yesterday. Oh my God, I'm so glad this came up because the black swallowwort is so terrible and the monarchs are eating that. And I'm like, why haven't we tried changing some of these invasive plants through hybridization to be edible? Or why haven't we just stopped calling them invasive and love on them and be like, please change so that the monarchs will eat you? Okay, that's enough on that.
Another really cool book that I was just talking about someone with is Braiding Sweetgrass,
Oh,
about
that's a
our
good one too.
connection to nature.
Yes.
Um, then someone says, wow, thank you, Todd, for this wonderful presentation. The earth is safe. We need to restore our relationship to it. The next question is, where will the 425, actually, it's on the 21st, Garden Fest. Oh, wait. Okay,
No.
they're talking about your garden festival
Yes.
on 425. Where will that
Yes.
be held?
That is going to be at Old South Union Church in Weymouth.
Okay, great. Someone said, thank you. I definitely will have to view this again. Thank you. The presentation blew my mind. Great information tonight and fantastic photos. Thank you so much. And I want to thank you, Todd, and everyone who came tonight. I do want to remind you about tomorrow's webinar, When the Lights Go Out, The Secret World of Fireflies with Blake Dinius of the Plymouth County Extension. And then please join us on Saturday at Kennedy's Country Gardens for our expo. And this year we will be having a shuttle. You can park at Oro and then shuttle over to Kennedy's. So I hope we all see you there. And again, thank you, Todd.
You're welcome. Thanks to everybody who was here.
Good night.
Good night.